Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a concept that literally pays off: the power of consistency and the daily investment advantage. We're going to break down the actual mechanics of wealth building and totally remove the intimidation factor from investing. Let's get right to it.
So picture this. You're walking down the street or maybe checking your coat pocket, and boom, you find a $5 bill. I mean, most of us wouldn't even bat an eye at that, right? It's just a cup of coffee, maybe a quick kind of stale snack from the vending machine at work, or, one of those tiny impulsive online purchases we all make. After all, it's only $5. But what if I told you that this tiny, seemingly insignificant amount could quietly become literally one of the smartest financial decisions of your entire life? And that brings us to the core question we're tackling in this explainer. What really happens if you just invest every single day? We somehow constantly trick ourselves into thinking that building wealth requires, a massive inheritance, some crazy six-figure salary, or just sitting around waiting for a huge windfall. But we're going to explore how throwing a little bit of cash in every single day can actually reshape your future way more effectively than waiting around to drop a massive chunk of change once in a blue moon.
To see this in action, let's look at two totally different approaches. Meet James and Sarah. They're both 27, they work at the exact same company, pulling in the exact same salary. But when payday hits, James takes the mindset of, well, I'll invest when I finally have some extra money. He's basically waiting for the stars to align, the perfect moment, the perfect amount. Sarah, on the other hand, takes a completely different route. Instead of waiting, she just invests $5 every single day. Now, some days she might toss in $3, maybe $10 on others, but she never intentionally skips a day. Her goal isn't perfection, it is pure, unadulterated consistency. James kind of laughs it off, wondering what a few bucks is even going to do. Well, let's find out.
Think of it like trying to fill up a giant bucket. You've really got two choices here. You could try hauling one heavy, huge bucket of water over to it once every few months, or you can just pour a little cup into it every single day. Take a second and ask yourself, which of these methods fills the bucket more reliably? If you're thinking the daily cups, you are absolutely right. And why is that? Because consistency beats intensity. Every time. Investing follows this exact same rule. Small deposits made on a regular basis snowball into something so much bigger than they look on the surface.
Now notice how at first, Sarah's progress doesn't really look like much of anything. After month 1, honestly, there's nothing really exciting going on. After 6 months, just some pretty modest growth. James is probably feeling super smug right about now, convinced his waiting game is the right call. But here is the secret. Sarah isn't chasing quick, flashy profits. She's building a habit. Every evening, her investing routine becomes as automatic as brushing her teeth. She completely bypasses that exhausting mental debate of whether to invest today. She just does it. The absolute key takeaway here is that daily investing changes your behavior long before it dramatically changes your bank balance. And that psychological shift, it's incredibly powerful.
But then, bam, panic hits. One morning, out of nowhere, the stock market takes a sudden, sharp dive. The news headlines are literally screaming, "Markets crash!" And James totally loses it. He tells himself, nope, I'm going to wait until things feel safer. He completely freezes up. His cash stays parked entirely on the sidelines. He is so terrified of losing what little he has that he just shuts down everything.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how Sarah reacts. She doesn't panic at all. She just keeps on investing. When prices drop, her daily investment naturally buys more shares. When prices eventually go back up, it buys a little less. Without even actively trying to, she's executing a pro-level strategy called dollar-cost averaging. That's really just a fancy way of saying she's letting time smooth out the market's wild ups and downs by buying in regularly, totally ignoring the current price. Instead of stressing out trying to predict the magical, perfect day to buy in, she just lets the math do the heavy lifting for her.
Let's put this all into perspective using what the source material dubs the coffee challenge. If you're spending $5 every single day on your morning latte, after just 1 year, you've dropped over $1,800. Actually, think about that for a second. $1,800 gone just from a daily caffeine fix. But now imagine taking that exact same amount and slowly, steadily investing it instead. It's this surprisingly large pile of money just hiding in plain sight, waiting to be put to work.
And putting it to work is exactly what happens, and that is all thanks to compounding. See, the money you invest doesn't just sit in a digital vault collecting dust. It actually gets the chance to grow. And as those investments earn returns over the years, well, those returns actually start earning their own returns. It's exactly like a snowball rolling down a massive hill, picking up more and more snow the further it goes. One small daily choice, repeated hundreds of times, triggers this crazy exponential growth that paints a drastically different financial future.
You can kind of picture this as a massive domino effect.
Step 1 is just that first tiny, barely there investment. It's super small. But step 2 is those daily contributions knocking over the next domino, which is just a little bit bigger. Every single day you invest, clack, you knock over another domino, until you eventually hit step 3, unstoppable momentum. Daily investing is not about making one massive, highly stressful decision. It's about hundreds of small, totally painless choices working together to kick off an unbelievable chain reaction.
All right, let's fast forward a bit. 5 years down the road, let's check back in on James and Sarah. James finally decides he's ready to start investing, because hey, he's making more money now. But take a look at his life. He's got a much bigger apartment, a pretty hefty car payment, and overall, his lifestyle costs have shot way up. Saving actually feels significantly harder for him right now than it did 5 years ago. Meanwhile, look at Sarah. She's been investing through roaring bull markets, terrifying crashes, and everything in between. Her portfolio isn't, massive just yet, but it is growing really steadily. And the absolute best part, she never once had to guess the perfect time to start.
When we dig into the real numbers from the source, the mechanics of this become crystal clear. $5 a day works out to roughly $150 a month. If we factor in an average annual return of somewhere around 10% over the long haul, those tiny daily investments can actually balloon into a massive, highly meaningful portfolio over a couple of decades. Now, obviously, the exact dollar amount depends on what the market actually does, but the underlying principle is rock solid. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that it wasn't the size of the check Sarah wrote that mattered most. It was the sheer number of times she gave her money the opportunity to grow.
I've got to say, I absolutely love the metaphor they share in the source material for this. They say wealth is like a garden. Imagine just planting one single tiny flower seed every day. At first, yeah, your garden looks pretty plain. A month goes by, maybe you've got a couple of small patches of color, but give it a year, it's completely bursting with life. When people come over to visit, all they see is this breathtaking garden. They totally miss the hundreds of tiny, quiet, invisible actions that actually made it happen. Building wealth is the exact same process. It's built one day, one investment, and one habit at a time.
So does this mean you absolutely must invest every single day? Well, no, not necessarily. For a lot of folks, doing it weekly or even monthly works just as well. Because at the end of the day, the true superpower here isn't the frequency, it's the consistency. When you stay consistent, your portfolio naturally grows. Your habits improve because putting money away becomes just a normal routine instead of this agonizing occasional debate. Your emotions matter a whole lot less because you completely opt out of the incredibly stressful game of trying to time the market. And your money gets endless opportunities to compound. Remember, massive fortunes almost never start with one giant, lucky investment. They start with incredibly small actions, repeated consistently.
So, to wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a final thought to chew on. The next time you find a crumpled up $5 bill in your pocket, or you're about to click buy now on some random impulse purchase, and you catch yourself thinking, it's only $5. Just hit pause, stop, and ask yourself, what could this $5 become 20 years from now? Because real wealth isn't usually built in one dramatic, extraordinary moment. It's built through very ordinary decisions, made consistently. Sometimes, the absolute best investment strategy isn't waiting until you have a giant pile of cash. It's just starting today. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and hey, here's to building your own unstoppable momentum.